Well, good evening, everybody. My name is James Feagin. I am the engagement manager for In Good Co Detroit. We aim to be a destination for inspiration and information for entrepreneurs in Southeast Michigan. Some of you may have attended our office hours last night for In Good Co Detroit with our storytellers, or you may not have heard of In Good Co yet. Basically, we're a storytelling platform that works to inspire Detroit entrepreneurs by telling the stories of some great entrepreneurs. And the goal there was, once we inspire folks, that you also have a connection point to the resources to help your business grow or get started in the ways that they did. And so the work that I've been doing along with my In Good Co team, as well as Angela and David, is on bringing all of that together so that you have this seamless world of inspiration and information that lives all together. And with that, I'll stop there and let Angela and David introduce themselves.
Yep, go ahead, Angela.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Angela Williams. I'm a fellow Detroiter and the Regional Director of Customer Experience at Startup Space. I'm always available to help anyone on board onto Startup Space. And as you learn more about our tool today, I hope that we're able to get in contact and just get you all set up on the site. Thanks for coming. David?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having us. My name is David Ponraj. I'm the founder and CEO of Startup Space. Startup Space came about as a pain that I had to finding resources in my community. And then about a little less than a year ago, we started on a journey with the New Economy Initiative and the storytelling platform with In Good Company to help connect the Detroit small business and entrepreneur community with resources. And we're here to talk about some of that work we've done over the past year, and I look forward to this conversation today.
So David mentioned pain points. So I've been working with the New Economy Initiative for about 7 years now, back from early 2014 when I helped to launch Any Ideas. And, you know, we had that challenge that went over the course of a few years. And then we also had the BizGrid, which was kind of a static and physical resource that helped kind of list some of the resources in the ecosystem. And our challenge always was, how do we make this more dynamic? How do we make it interactive? And then how do we connect it to not just the information, but things to really pull people in? And so that work continues. And you know, you'll hear us use the term a lot, living platform. So, you know, when we were able to find Startup Space as a partner, it allowed us to take the work we had done with BizGrid and kind of marry it with the idea that it could be dynamic, it could change in real time, that you as an entrepreneur could update your information and tag and connect yourself to things in a living way. We could aggregate a calendar, and we could also have ecosystem partners that could manage their profiles in real time, so we didn't have to go and do a physical reprint and full update of the system, you know, every 6 months or every year, and then it'd be static, and then the minute one person left, now that phone number or email is obsolete, and you could have, you know, dead links or dead information. So this team has been great. David with the technology and Angela with really understanding Detroit and being the face and presence of it here at helping us in real time respond to things. And we're excited tonight to engage directly with you all, walk you through the tool, get you using it, get your feedback on what it needs to be to help you on your journey. And with that, I'm really going to turn it over to David, who will start walking through the tool. And these are open office hours. So this is, as much as David will be doing a demo, chime in with your questions at any time. And we can talk about, you know, your specific business, what you want to learn, what you're seeing. Let's make this a live, interactive conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, James. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to first kind of just walk people through how they can get access to the page you're referring to. And like James said, we would love to make this interactive. So please feel free to keep your questions coming. You should be able to, let me see if I can. So this is the landing page for the In Good Company website. So I'm just going to actually, Angela, if you could grab this link and post it in the chat, folks can actually follow along on their computers as well. But this is the inspiration and the storytelling platform that's really a hook to get people connected to resources. And our goal is that through the inspiration and the storytelling of entrepreneurs who've been on similar journeys, we can inspire people to first visit this website and through here really get connected to resources in your community. So I'm going to actually open this in an incognito window. All that it does is it actually just gives you a way in which you can actually see the same version on your platform. So I'm going to go back and make sure that this is sharing. Is it? Can you see the incognito version?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So when you scroll down here and go to the resource part of this platform, you'll actually find, right by clicking here, you can see resources in your community. And the power behind these resources is not just about the fact that you see these resources, but you can actually find resources that are specific for your area of business or for your type of startup. And I'm going to kind of show you some of those examples. And what we've heard consistently from people is when you say it's for everyone, it's not for me. So you can't say, I've got 300 resources and now there are 300 different options for people. It's really about specifically what is it that you're working on and how can you find a resource for you. So for example, if I say I'm a Latinx entrepreneur and if I look for, let's say, funding and capital for Latinx entrepreneurs, I can actually go through the platform and I can search and specifically find in real time resources for Latinx entrepreneurs, and I can change the radius and say, I'm just looking for like 50 miles. I can change that. I can say I'm looking.
Hey, David, sorry to interrupt you. Right now, we can only see the top of the Take the Next Step page.
Okay, that's what I figured. It actually only shows you the first page I was sharing. That's what I was wondering. Okay, perfect. Thanks for stopping me there. Okay. Now can you see?
Looks good. We can see the resources.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just backtrack for 1 second. So I selected Latinx and I selected funding and capital and I hit search. And then I went in and I can change my radius 50, 100 miles and I can see resources around me. So, instantly you find very specific resources that can help you with access to capital for your specific community. You can also change this. Let's say I'm looking specifically for Black entrepreneurs looking for funding and capital, and I can search and I'll find some others that might be specifically for Black entrepreneurs looking for funding and capital. And you can keep doing this. You can look for other things like, looking for business setup. And then I'll, in a little later in the presentation and kind of as you ask questions, we'll actually talk a little bit more about specific even types of resources like mentorship or looking for specific events, etc. And then there's also a COVID-19 resource page specifically for restarting your businesses, etc. that we'll touch on. So I'll pause for 1 second and then we'll continue on this journey. So are there any questions or any commentary, any additions, James, you want to make, or Angela, feel free to do that. Okay. All right. So I'll keep going, and I'll next just kind of switch tack a little bit to then show you. We have 3 different types of resources on the platform. So the first one was access to organizations or access to groups that can help you. The other thing that's on the platform is that you can also find events that you can go be a part of. One of the things that's so hard is being able to find different events in your community and trying to figure out, where do I go and where do I make sure that I stay plugged in? And if I'm trying to start a business, where is that village that I can be a part of? And you can actually come here and you can find a curated set of all of the events that are happening in your community, all in one place. So you don't have to kind of guess, where am I going to go to find resources? That's another unique part of the website. And then last thing I'm going to show you here in this first section here is I'm just going to quickly show you the COVID-19 page as well. And then, I'd love to, at that point, kind of turn it over to see if there are any questions specifically to what I've shared. Let me see if I can bring the screen back up. So we put a COVID-19 page for Detroit where you could actually find in one place access to capital, access to resources that you can call on, or people you can visit for office hours, etc. And then events that are specifically tied to support. And the last one is inspirational content, reopening guides, PPP, and other loan PDFs, etc., instructional books to be able to fill out loans all in one place. And the curation is really the magic. It's not the information itself, but it's the access and the democratization of information. So it's widely and easily accessible by all the different communities in Detroit. It's really what this was built to support. So you could actually go and change this page to Arabic, or you could translate it into Bengali. We also got Spanish and other versions. So really trying to make sure that this kind of represents the community at large. And on top of that, you can also click to talk to an advisor, or towards the second half, I'll also talk about how you can be a part of this community that is being built in Detroit. So there's a little bit about some of the resources that we've built in the last 9 to 10 months, really building on some other asset planning and asset mapping work that happened in the past. But this kind of takes it to the next level and puts it in a mobile phone and on a desktop like this, and makes it easy to access for entrepreneurs in Detroit.
I love that rundown, David, of the app and kind of all the things it does. Being the new guy in the conversation here, it sounds like you guys had a session last night or yesterday, or previously rather. Let's get a few of like the basics out of the way on stuff like this. So, calendars and resources. So who's populating this stuff, and where are they getting it? And then what incentive do they have to be doing that work? Give us kind of that background.
All right, I'll give Angela a chance to talk about the actual how these things get populated, and then maybe James, I'll let you take the incentive part of what incentivizes people. James really came up with this idea, so we'll kind of let James talk about the incentives behind this. But yeah, Angela, over to you. Kind of the mechanics of how this works.
So the beauty of the COVID-19 page is that's all backed by Startup Space. So once you make an account, you actually see everything on the COVID-19 page in the platform. But in terms of populating the platform, people typically email me. Yes, I answer my emails. So I will drop my email in the chat. And we also have a Google Sheet that we have everyone who has the link, they just populate the information right in. And I've had wonderful people like Christiane, and other people from different types of ESOs and BSOs just email me and send me information over the past few months. And this page was initially built in April, and we're still maintaining it. It's June. COVID has really hit our community hard. So as those resources come online, such as the Wayne County grant, we have the video there, we have the grant there, and we have all the information there. And it gets there pretty much through me, or if you send it to the team.
So I will give my answer by kind of zooming out a bit. So, and you'll hear us use a lot of jargony terms because we usually talk to each other. In our entrepreneurial ecosystem, there are so many different folks who are doing the work to support small businesses. A lot of them you might have heard of, like Bill Institute or Prosper Us or Tech Town or Invest Detroit, some of the place-based organizations, Southwest Detroit Business Association, Grand Mount Rosedale Development Corp., even some of your local churches that might have business ministries or things like that. All of these folks are already doing the work to support small businesses. What we've been able to help them do is provide a space that helps them better and more efficiently communicate with small businesses. So, for example, if I'm Paul Garrison over at Osborne Business Association, a lot of times people are just calling you all day and saying, hey, I need help with this. Where do I go for that? You know, Paul's great. Paul's going to answer all those questions. But if Paul has an online place he can just point you to and say, hey, go check this out, and then give me a call once you have any questions after that, you can go find information on your own. So now you got this 24/7 space that's not dependent on someone responding to your email or answering the phone for you to get basic information. You may also not be ready to talk to somebody yet. You want to know, like, what do I even ask about? Or I'm not comfortable calling anybody, or I don't know who to call. So this can be a space you can just go to even start to think about how you kick the tires around moving forward. So that's on the, in terms of Paul or their organization, they're going to want to make their work more efficient so that they can focus on doing the work that they have to do and have this space that help answers basic questions. We really saw this take hold during COVID. A lot of groups were already doing work, and then when COVID happened, everyone was trying to work with their entrepreneurs and gather all the information that was happening at the same time. So if PPP was coming up, how you explain to people what that was and what the CARES Act was, and this grant and that thing, and parking for curbside takeout, and how to get PPP equipment, and all of these different webinars that were happening. And so we just took the world that was happening and put it in one place so that everybody could just do the work that they were doing. And I think, David, I looked this evening at my dashboard. We had 7,000 visits to that COVID-19 landing page.
Yeah.
So that's 7,000 times that someone who does work every day didn't have to stop and pick up the phone and talk to somebody, that a small business owner could just go to the website, get the information. And if you know anything about the folks that have been working too, a lot of them haven't just had time to answer the phone. They've been busy trying to figure out how they were going to keep businesses afloat, how they were going to keep their organizations afloat. So it's really come in and been a resource. That's the incentive. The New Economy Initiative, my client also, who funds In Good Co. and who funds Startup Space, in being in this market, they fund a lot of the ecosystem partners. And so for them, it's a great way to, demonstrate and capture some of their capacity. And it's, for anyone who is serving small businesses, there's value in claiming your space, updating your profile. And then ultimately the goal for you guys as entrepreneurs is, does this become something that helps you grow your business? And that's really, tonight's conversation is about that, the work that comes beforehand, the feedback you'll give us tonight, the feedback others give us in the future. As we're responsive, it becomes a resource for you. Not to make this about social media, but why do you go to Facebook? Because it's a place where it helps you do the things you need to do. So ultimately, if Startup Space can help you find information, get inspiration when you're having a bad day, if you go to In Good Co and watch a story, eventually actually, find business opportunities so that you can increase sales, then that's going to be the incentive that makes you go there, because it's helping you do your business better.
Love it. Love it. I've seen a lot of these over the years, of the calendars and the resource pages and things like that. And you guys are hitting all the major points, I think, on the output end. right? It's always, this is a good thing because, hey, I got a spot to direct them. Being a robotics coach, I get parents all the time with all these questions, and so I just have like a running FAQ that, again, I can point them back to. I already answered that. I want to have like a 10-minute conversation. There you go. You could read that, or hopefully I've sent it to you. On the front end, though, on the back end, I think it's pretty obvious. On the front end, I want you guys to have a chance to bring the value add forward. There's Kaufman and even Techstars themselves, Community Canvas, Startup Math, Co-Starters. Differentiating from those things, where do you guys position the people who are doing the things, putting their thing on your thing, right? If everything's on it, then it's super obvious. Yeah, everything's on it, so I can point to it. But how do we get everything on it? What's the incentive from all these things that are happening to now they're being, put through this filter that is what you guys are doing? I want to hear that. I think that's the power you guys are going to bring to the Detroit market.
I mean, I can take a shot at that, and I want to caveat that you can't always be all things to all people. James, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can't be all things
I think
to.
everybody's a little choppy.
Oh. Am I choppy or James? James, you sound choppy.
James, your audio.
Yeah, if everybody, well, I see somebody else saying bad connection.
So, okay. Angela, can you hear me okay? Okay, James, I'll keep going and hopefully it'll the audio or the video will catch up. So, the idea is, you can't be all things to all people. And rather than trying to be that big aggregator, right? For us, the idea from day one has been around this word you'll hear me talk about all the time, is utility. So we focus on value creation for the grassroots community. So in Detroit, we work with the immigrant community. We work with all the names that James mentioned, with Build Institute, with TechTown, with DEGC. We work with entrepreneurs at the bottom of the pyramid, because when you can show value for them, it might not be for everyone, but if you can even help a few people start businesses faster and better, you've kind of succeeded in your mission. So, and when you do this well, and you do this in a lot of places, right? You end up having a platform that has like 12,000 entrepreneurs on it. But again, we're not so much focused on trying to be that end-all platform. But in many ways, we've been able to achieve that by focusing on driving value for the individual entrepreneur, making sure that that initial pain that I had when I first started this business was, it is really hard for me to start a business. Can I make it easier for somebody else to start a business if they know about startup space? And so that was the inspiration for me to start on this journey. And that's kind of the story we're always looking to validate. Is it any market we go to, there might be a lot of big players, there's Kaufman, there is, like you said, Co-Starters, there is, Techstars has their own community, Google has their own community, everybody has like their own community, right? So we're not really trying to compete with any of them, but we focus on small businesses being able to start faster. And then we kind of make the mandate that our clients have easier by making their work easier. So as an example, we put this COVID-19 page together for NEI and In Good Company because that was something that they wanted to help their ecosystem and all of their partners be able to connect with each other better. we do similar tools in almost every market we are in. We're in about 25 states. We have users in all 50 states, but in every place that we are in, we are trying to create value for our client that is an entrepreneurship organization that's trying to help its constituents start businesses. So, how does this compare to all the other platforms? I don't know. But, you'll hear about us in a lot of markets. We support entire statewide agencies, and we support several entrepreneurship ecosystems across the US, mainly because we've shown that we can help small businesses start better.
Let's dig right to that next level of that. So clients versus customers. Differentiate for those watching, especially after the fact, so they can understand where they situate in your universe. Who's a client and who's a customer?
Yeah, I would actually, that's exactly like you said, Grant. But I would say client versus end user. So client is the person who's paying, and then the end user is the person who's consuming it, right? So we have clients like NEI in almost every city that we're in. So we have, in some cases, the Kellogg Foundation, in some cases, the Knight Foundation, in some cases, the Bush Foundation. We've got almost all the big marquee foundations supporting through our clients the work. So they fund the work, but then the end user is the small business. And every small business should have the ability to start and be able to grow their business, to be able to provide for their family, to be able to actually get access to wealth creation, right? That's the end goal. Is entrepreneurship is about wealth creation, about being able to feed your family. And so we try to help that by going through our clients who are already got the work on the ground. They're already the resource provider. We come in with a platform, and really what we've shown you is the tip of the iceberg. We've shown you the forward-facing tools, right? There's a whole back end to this where you actually go in, you can run mentorship, you can run cohorts, you can run your incubators, you can manage group communication. So all of the tools that an entrepreneurship center needs, including fundraising, co-working space management, running your innovation center, all of that is in one place. So our clients pay us, and then we kind of bring in the innovation to drive that small ecosystem of startups and small businesses, and then actually equip them. We have mobile apps, we have desktops, all of these different tools to kind of help with the end user experience. But yeah, so that's a differentiator. You've got the client, and then you've got the end user.
So what are some questions, maybe Angela or James, that you guys are getting? What are some obvious questions or FAQs that come up a lot that you kind of want to address? That maybe you didn't last session.
Let me see. Am I coming through okay right now? No, I'm not.
Just a little tinny.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think my entire neighborhood is online right now.
They're all watching.
So I'm sorry. I'll try to do the best I can. I think for me, this is again just a continuum of my work for the past 6-7 years, where when I started with the first info session with Any Ideas, it was all about, okay, we're giving away this $10,000 for up to 30 businesses. This is the criteria. These are the eligibility rules. And there are people that are going to fall within that and people that fell out of that. So whether you won or didn't win or didn't apply because you weren't eligible, the question was, well, what else is there for me? And so I've been living and working trying to answer that question for the last 7 years. And I honestly, if I give myself brain damage, look back at the grant reporting, I've probably hosted about 400 in-person info sessions with small businesses. And a lot of it's just me repeating information and then sharing whatever I was dealing with at the time, whether it was any ideas info session, the Motion Match info session, Motion Restore, Detroit Demo Day, Night Cities Challenge, all these different projects I worked on, and not being able to give people a whole universe at one time in an easily digestible way. This becomes in my brain a way to get out of my brain and point somebody to something and say, here, you don't have to be Facebook friends with me or know Paul Harrison or wait for Detroit Startup Week to see everything that's going on. You can go to this website, here are all the events happening, here are the different resources, here's some great articles, and then yes, here's a universe of 318 resources in Southeast Michigan where you can create your own universe based on the things that are relevant to you. I think that for me is the value add, and the fact that it's connected by the actual service providers in Southeast Michigan and driven by the entrepreneurs. That makes it, our competitive advantage here. There's trusted people behind it, and the folks have an incentive to continually update and work on it.
James, do you have a pair of headphones with a mic nearby?
Yeah, I'll try switching to my phone, maybe.
As we do the next thing, maybe we can do that maybe you can try that in between. I see, right, David, you just answered the question via text. The next step for Startup Space, what features are needed in the ecosystem? Thanks, Trevor, for the question, for one. For two, David responded, and I want to get your answer out of the way because there's an interesting phrasing that Trevor actually included that I would love to hear your guys' feedback on. Our next step is to try to provide a way for small businesses to connect directly with the right resources for them using AI. So, love that that's your answer, David, because I want to pull out the word that Trevor used, needed. Right? How do you define needed for someone who has all the variables of a human being, whether they're what groups they associate with, what point in their life they're at, right? The individual person. That person might have partners, so more variables with more people. Those people have a particular business that they're in that has its own variables. And then those people are on their own journey. That company's on its own journey within this ecosystem that's within its own journey. So navigating the needs, I think might be really interesting for you folks having worked in communities, worked with entrepreneurs. How do you define need with so many variables out there?
So I can actually show you visually how this works. So my background before this was actually leading artificial intelligence and innovation for Nielsen, the market research company. So I'll show you.
Get out of here, David. Just get out of here. Of course it was. So this has been my lifelong dream. And I'll explain, actually, that's a very good question, right? That's a starting point. To be able to provide the results, you need to be able to define the query first. How do you know who you are responding to, right? So I'm going to share my screen and show you the building blocks. Now, if you have worked in AI, you will know that nobody has the perfect AI engine. If they say they have the perfect AI engine, they're lying to you, right? Coming from somebody who's worked in AI a lot. But here we have like the building blocks for it. And basically, no two people on Startup Space will have the same results because of what you just said, Grant. No two people have the same variables, right? But we start tracking the variables for every person right from the very beginning. So here, the variables for me are all of these things in black. So you can see I'm a mentor, an entrepreneur, and a startup. That defines my persona. Where do I live? I live in Detroit, Michigan. That defines my location. I'm a member of what community? And what is my role? I'm a founder at a startup. Those variables help drive what kind of resources are needed for me. So it this is a leaderboard that gamifies the kind of points and other incentives we want to give you to drive behavior. There's a toolkit that kind of brings all of the things that I care about: mentorship, my resources, my business model canvas, technical support, the ability to talk to an advisor. And then as I scroll down, the conversations I'm having on the platform,
and then events that the platform thinks I should be attending. I'm glad it thinks I should be attending my own event. And then resources on the site, resources that it thinks are tied to my startup, and then suggested articles. So you can see here, a lot of these articles are now triggered by COVID-19, rightfully so, right? Because I need to be thinking about COVID-19. And so this curation is unique to everybody on the platform. And this is like the building blocks at very, very early stages of trying to help predict what resources does an entrepreneur need. Because at the end of the day, we have a whole bunch of resources on the left-hand side of the platform, but nobody's going to take the time to go and click through everything. So we are kind of curating what we think the journey of the entrepreneur should be and kind of giving them that journey, knowing that they can always go through here. I can still go through the member directory and I can still say, listen, you know what? I want to talk to a mentor today. I'm going to go look for a mentor. Oh, I've got people from Score Detroit. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to find a Score Detroit mentor. Actually, you know what? I need somebody specifically as a mentor in accounting and finance. So I look for that and I find, oh, there is a mentor here that is specifically focused on accounting and finance. Why don't I click on her profile, learn about her work, and then be able to connect with her, right? That curated journey doesn't exist today. And so that's kind of our vision of the next step is how do you create these very purposeful journeys on the platform that will allow you to directly get access to the resources, kind of cut the time it needs to start a business and be able to focus on the things that actually matter when it comes to starting a business, which is connecting with the right people, putting the building blocks together for having a really solid foundation and then launching from there.
That makes
I don't know if
sense.
I went too fast. Yeah, I get excited and I go too fast. I hope I still captured your attention.
Angela, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so while David was talking, I was thinking about how I define a need, and I define that with each individual conversation I have with end users and with clients. So like literally I'm open to having sessions, whether they're 25 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, to really identify what is the need of that individual person and helping people and helping them understand the platform and talking through all the features, because it's a lot and I'm learning too, so we'll learn together. So that is like the special sauce for me that Startup Space has and brings that other platforms don't have. It's the fact that we see individuals for who they are. And we see business owners for who they are. And if it's a small mom and pop shop, we see you too. And so my job is to work with you as individuals and just meet you where you're at and get you onto the platform and help you find what you need. James, you're on mute.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
All right.
You sound good.
Grant, I'm gonna just keep you with me, man.
I love it. I love you, man.
Oh, now we're getting deep.
We were just so we were just talking about maybe some common things, James, that come up, maybe that entrepreneurs have or communities have, and then how, I mean, regardless, I mean, how the app's going to do that, we just went through. And that's super helpful that it's an individualized experience that's going through, because we're all going through whatever we're going through, and then what the company's going through, and then how that situates in our community. What are some of the things, James, maybe you can add to the conversation that, you know, when you get that phone call, like what are some of those common things that we can just talk about here anyway?
Yeah, so I want, let me try to find a way where I don't have an echo. Do you guys hear an echo?
We do not.
Okay, it might just be me because I'm hearing myself twice. All right. All right, hold on.
Someone's getting some ice though.
I know, right? So I'm on the phone.
So I guess as the conversation moves from, let's say the platform's going to do it, do you want to dig into some of the common things that have come up in the communities you're seeing? So either patterns or anomalies that continue to happen across the communities or companies or individuals that, since you guys are serving so many, you're probably able to try to analyze, you're able to analyze and recognize what's happening. Can you give us some insights?
Yeah, let me see. James, are you back?
I'm here, but I'm not really sure how I'm here. I'm gonna
You sound good.
try
Okay,
something.
sound fine right now, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me
leave it.
right now?
Yeah.
Okay, what it was, my phone. I got my phone going, but then my computer was still going. So now the computer's right, so we're good.
Yeah.
I wanted to just go back for a bit and just answer that question you were asking about. It really touched on Trevor's question about how do you know what's needed next to the ecosystem. So I keep coming back to this thing for me of the technology, if it works right, is just going to make more efficient what was already happening in the ecosystem anyway, or create an opportunity for new things to happen. So when you talk about what's needed in the ecosystem, where does that generally come from right now? It comes from, to paint you a picture. So, I consult for NEI, so I get to sit kind of one layer above the ecosystem. And down here, you've got the build, the tech town, the prosperous, to whoever, the this, right? Like you got 100 organizations, and then you get someone else that wants to come in and say, okay, we think because from our perspective, we can't see this happening, so Detroit needs this. So we're going to start a business plan support service, or we're going to start Spanish speaking support services, or we're going to start a website that lists all the Black businesses, whatever it is. Right now, there's no real aggregated way that shows you what's happening already. If we can get this right, what you'll have is, okay, before you just launch something or go try to get funding, go to Startup Space, see what's happening, see what's there. That's on one side so that service providers can come in and get an informed perspective. It might put me out of business a little bit because I've been hired as a consultant by organizations to help them figure that out. But I still think even then, Startup Space has helped me provide data and point folks to things, and there'll still be value add. So I'm not worried. On the other side, which could be really interesting, what if we get to the point where you got 10,000 entrepreneurs in Southeast Michigan that are on this platform, and we can put out a survey in real time and say, hey, which of these 5 things do you need right now that you don't see happening for you? Then you can go to a funder or to the right organization, or even kind of design a grant challenge for an organization to say, this is what entrepreneurs are trying to do right now, and say that they can't do very well. So it's not so much that becomes an indictment on the existing service providers, but it identifies a gap between what folks think they're delivering and what entrepreneurs are actually saying, this is what works for me in the market. Right now, so much of that is anecdotal or locked within individual people and whoever makes it to the meeting or gets invited to the cool kids table. But you can really democratize that conversation. So those are the types of things that I get really excited about.
You're starting to sound like Moneyball, right? Like baseball used to literally be there. Like some folks would sit around a table and say that person looks good. They look good. Like they got a good face. Their arm's strong. I saw them run fast, last week. So yeah. That was the conversation, right? Like you're saying, James, it's anecdotal, right? There's no hard numbers behind it. It's purely who you know and who's sitting at the table. Where now all of a sudden, Moneyball's. I watched the movie. I didn't read the book.
Well, and I'll add one quick thing to that, Grant, which is the last word that James said, which is the sense of community, right? The community is something that's very hard in today's day and age, right? Because we're so fast paced, but people still start businesses and tell us over and over again, it's really scary and it's really hard. right? And I'll just show you very quickly on the platform. I just want to talk about the sense of community because I think everybody gets the data connection that James is making, and that's very powerful. And we've already started looking at it, right? Like James, before the call, he jumped in there, looked at how many people had looked at the COVID-19 page and came with the numbers, and you can't argue with the numbers, right? That's like closing the deal. On the other side is that community, and we've been building that community, and I'll just give you like a 30-second view into the power of something like this. So I'm here just showing you another community that's here, and I'm on the community page called Connect Now. You have people here, somebody saying, hey, beautiful people, I'm pivoting my startup. Is anybody there to chat with me about problems in your company around language and culture? You have somebody saying, I'm looking for internship, somebody asking about quarantine restrictions. And then, there was one really powerful story that happened a few weeks back where there was an entrepreneur who came and said, you guys, I'm here feeling overwhelmed today, unsure of my next steps, if I'm spending my energy the right way, sitting at a coffee shop staring. What helps you when you feel that way? Now, this is something that every entrepreneur who started a business will relate to, right? But most of us don't have the guts to kind of talk about this with others. And here she posted in her very private community. And if you look at the responses, immediately people jumping and saying, I listen to podcasts, maybe listen to a tech talk. Somebody said, hey, why don't you go for a run, right? And she said, hey, can you send me your playlist? Right? And then somebody talking about powering through, and somebody says, go take a walk on the park. That sense of community doesn't exist today, right? Especially with COVID-19, we're all stuck at home. We still need that village to help us start our business. So you marry the great things about having data to be able to tell powerful stories about impact and being able to make sure that the right people are getting access to the right resources, be it funding, be it technical assistance, etc. And on the other side, you have that community that kind of rallies around you and says, you know what, we've got your back. Let's go do this. And I think that, you need those two things hand in hand to be able to start your business.
And I'll just kind of, answer the elephant in the room on that note. You see a lot of that activity that happens right now on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and that's great. And some of that's still going to happen. But there's also still so much stuff to filter through when you're on those platforms, and everybody's not there for that. So when you have a platform where 100% of the people are there for growing their business, and you're connected to resources right there within the platform, it provides for a different dynamic. And Trevor listed something a few moments ago about the Forbes hackathon. So for me, that's a perfect example, right? I went to the 30 Under 30 Summit last year. It was cool. It was awesome. I think it made me realize I was old, but that's a whole nother conversation. And then I got a call like Sunday, like, hey, we're doing this thing Tuesday. We're going to do a hackathon to create this thing. Who do we need to talk to? And, I've experienced enough of those types of things to know that they can have value. But if you don't have a really thought out plan for, okay, where's this going to live? How does it fit in with the work that's happening right now? And then what's the sustainability plan for it? Then it can be something that's cool that happens, but then 2 weeks later, what does it mean? So how do you take that type of energy and resources and cachet and layer it in properly to the ecosystem in a way that now the work that those students did and some of the entrepreneurs did actually added to what was here in the ecosystem for the long term?
That's a good point. Not only mapping and having the metrics and community around it, but then being able to layer into the fold as new things come in, right? Once you have that now, like you keep saying, James, there's this kind of thing we got. When new things come in, how do you bake them in? Right. I like that. So maybe Angela, might be one for you. Deborah says here David said, Deborah, great point. Yeah. Maybe Angela, you could reach out to Deborah and follow up. She has just a suggestion on something to add. So it sounds like funding to help sources who need training to help overcome the racial, gender, cultural biases.
Yeah, so
again, like you said, James, it's like, all right, here's a new thing someone's saying they want. How do we integrate that? That's great.
Well, Angela, if you want to speak on that, you can. I have a response for Deborah, too, about that specifically. So one of the things we worked on back at, I consulted for the DEGC for a couple of years, was their D2D procurement program. And so that's something where we were actually working to overcome those humps and connect suppliers with procurement officers at our anchor institutions to help speed up the buying process or to give more folks a seat at the table. And so that's some work that needs to continue. Some of it may live in the DEGC, but that's something that we can also do on Startup Space, where if we can get enough of the right momentum going, if you're a small business, you want to do business with a large anchor institution. There's knowing about that contract opportunity and being able to get in the room and pitch your services, right? Then there's being prepared to be able to do it, and what are the actual tangible steps? So if someone just says, no, you can't fulfill our volume, no, you don't have the access to, the scale that we need, or, what we see a lot of times, either we've got a 6-month pay cycle, which a small business can't survive, or the worst thing could happen, you get the contract. Now, you're used to doing 300 units a week. They're like, we need 10,000 next week. How do you do that? How do you hire? How do you get the capital? How do you find the talent? Where do you find the production capacity? So right now, an entrepreneur is trying to scramble, like, hey, I got this opportunity. How do I do it? How do I do it? And, they go to wherever they go to try to get that information right now. If we can do things to make that process more efficient and help folks build that capacity on the front end and connect the folks that are helping to build that capacity and the pathway for that to get folks built up to where they can take advantage of those opportunities, that's the kind of stuff we want to help do. That's going to be a lot of work. The technology itself won't solve the problem, but the platform can help move that forward. And then when you put the in-good code side into it, now you can capture that story, which then inspires someone else. So now when you're that person trying to figure out, no, number one, can this happen? Is it possible? Has anybody ever done it? You can see a story on in-good code or someone who has done it, and then see the resources that help them do it. That's really the continuous loop we want to create.
For the attendees still in, we still have 15 in here. It is on the hour, so I invite you and the rest of the panelists to share over here in the chat. If you'd like to connect with each other or connect with these folks, share your email, phone number, or LinkedIn, however you want to get connected with. Go ahead and share that over here in the chat, and then you can connect with people that way. Also on the Hey Summit website, all the speakers have their own page. So if you wanted to go through there, you can also connect with these folks there. But we'll stay in another couple minutes, let people have an opportunity to pop their information in the chat, and you can connect with each other. Yep, everyone's asking, what's your email? What's your email? Any last parting thoughts? As you started, David, to talk about community, and James, you really hit it home. I guess the idea I've heard of a similar experience, not just in startup communities, but maybe in nonprofits, where maybe that nonprofit's trying to serve either a geography or even a niche within a geography based on some theme or something. But they kind of do that anecdotal thing too. It's like, well, we heard, this guy's kind of trying that and this gal opened that thing. Okay, well, let's do this. That anecdotal, whoever's at the table thing. And I feel like what you guys are doing can really be applied to communities that need those stories, need the feedback, need the community.
Yeah, and Grant, that's what it can ultimately do, instead of every organization trying to be everything, you can focus on what you do best and build partnerships and leverage. Again, I remember when we built that table back in 2014 for Any Ideas, the Ambassador Network, one of the things that we were able to do is we had an organization that said, I've got Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs that we can't serve, so we're going to try to apply for a grant to translate all our materials. And Southwest Detroit was there and said, look, have them call me. We can translate anything for you. We've got folks that can do that. And so just that was a physical table that people were able to say, okay, instead of me trying to reinvent the wheel within my neighborhood, and now you got 25 different neighborhood organizations all doing websites, all doing business plans, all doing retail, all doing this. Let's work with each other and share and leverage and function as a network. And that's really the thing that we've been trying to create here over the past couple of years, that this technology gives us a chance to accelerate. And again, I can't leave this part out. The stories are so important, right? Because number one, you may not even know what else you could be doing with your business because you're busy running your business. And so to see people who have grown and scaled, we got a story coming out next week with Naila Ellis, and you'll hear her talking about being at a point where she just said, I need to start a business. I don't even know what. So when you see her today and you see her literally selling tea, her grandfather's tea recipe in every Sam's Club in North America, you would assume she was born brewing tea and running this business. You wouldn't think that a couple of years ago, she was just like, look, I got to figure this out. And then worked 12 years and never paid herself, lost her whole team, had to find a new facility, all these different challenges she's gone through. And then you can see who helped her with, this at this point, that at that point, this at that point, helped her rebrand when she needed to go approach these vendors and realize like, okay, I've been doing labels myself. I need some actual branding. So she went to Skidmore Studios, got a branding package that was able to get her in the room and look for real. And all the different things that she's been, from, I can't think, Endeavor, all the different resources along the way of her story that have helped her grow. And quite frankly, the people. The other thing that Startup Space does too, you have the entrepreneurs, but between In Co. and the whole platform, other people who may not even be entrepreneurs can just understand how they can support their spouse, their friend, their cousin. So it becomes a way for you to get your village kind of in the fight with you, helping you move forward.
Yep. And I will say just one last thing. I would encourage everybody to, I put the link there to go create an account to experience what James has been talking about and what we've all been talking about this past hour, to experience it for themselves and be able to join that village on the platform.
Looks like startupspace.app/register. Go ahead and jump on in the Detroit area if you're an entrepreneur or you're involved. Especially if you're here, if you're watching this, you're part of it. Whether you just said that to yourself or not, when I said entrepreneur, if you're watching this, this is for you. Yeah. You're a part of this. So go to the app, join in and start a conversation and just start talking about what you do day to day. You might not think it's unique, but you can only be you. Everyone else is taken. So be the best you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, panel. You guys did awesome. That's our hour.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the week. Detroit Startup Week, we did it.
Oh, one last plug.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, 6 to 8, we're going to have the In Good Co. panel featuring 4 of our entrepreneurs. So In Good Co.'s got one more panel, and if you go to In Good Co. right now, like David said, make sure you register, create your account. We're going to be doing a lot of programming coming up that'll really, it'll make sense that you're registered and a part of it so you get the full experience. And we're also going to be telling more stories and doing more events. So make sure you connect with
So that sounds like Thursday, June 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yes.
There's going to be more in-depth into In Good Co., and you're going to hear some actual stories from actual entrepreneurs.
Yes, we're going to have 4 entrepreneurs with us. Fame from 313, Joe from Henry the Hatter, Naija Bay from, she's got a doula service, and Nieves Nuongo, who has Diseños Ornamental Ironworks. It's a young lady, took over her father's ironworking factory, does a ton of great work with the state, with hotels, with folks' homes, and it's an amazing story. You can check those stories out on In Good Co right now, and all the stories and podcasts. It's available 24/7.
Well, there's lots of love over in the chat. Great info, excellent info. Thanks for all the panelists. Thank you guys again. Share everything on DETSW 2020. Join the startup space, and we'll see you in the next session for Detroit Startup Week.